Hi friends, in this particular video, now I would be starting off with another sub playlist within the main sub list. I would say the main playlist of mine, and that is on Python. Now, you see, what happened was I started off with my journey learning about certain things in Python when I came across few doubts and I never understood as to how to proceed further. And there it was one of my teacher friend of mine, that's what I would say, Ned. He went forward and he said that, Ramani, in order to understand these things you will have to understand what exactly is distribution. And from there he entered into probability theory and importance of the probability distribution, and mathematical functions which are there. And I had to go forward. Now this was because I wanted to know more about regression. And the moment I was thrown into the water of regression, wherein I understood that there are 54 varieties of regression models which are available to us and one needs to understand. However, in order to know how those things are working out in terms of univariate, bivariate, multivariate variables, he said that you have to understand what exactly is probability, number one. Number two, understand through probability theories how the distribution theories came in. And surprisingly, he showed me the varieties of distribution, and it were also more than 94 varieties of it. Then I got a shock and I said that in order to understand certain things which I was working in Python, I need to know about all these things. So this is why I started off with this particular playlist, thinking that whatever I have learned, it is always better that I start giving it away so that I am able to know more about it. And this is how one of my student, she came up and she said that, ma'am, it will be better that if you can go ahead and dwell more into it and explain to us in depth. So in classes, definitely yes, we cannot explain each and everything. So I thought, okay, let me proceed further with this, and let me even take it up. Now thanks to I say Almighty God, that yes, my eyes were opened completely with this. And I'm happy, and I thought, okay, let me share it. Whatever knowledge I have got now, I should go ahead and see how well I can give it to others also. Now this particular knowledge I have seen is not just meant for probability and distribution. Like, each and everything in statistics is connected with each other. So this is something which I really wanted to learn. So the definition which he gave to me in a very simple word is that we usually mean probability distributions. Now two things together, I looked at him and I said, probability plus distribution together, you're talking about distribution? Then he started laughing and he said, yes, unless and until you do not understand probability, understanding distributions becomes very difficult. So informally, the definition as suggested by him is that distribution is a function that shows the possible values for a variable. And we all know what kind of variables are present. So you can understand that if we are talking about the values of variable, and variable is not just one variety, there are different varieties of variable. And then we have to understand and see how those values will be taking place and how often they are also occurring. Now then he asked me that he said that as you're swimming in the pool, Ramani, it's always better that you start off with Wikipedia and get an answer, a picture about what exactly distribution is all about. Now therein he gave me a cheat sheet from wherein I'm going to discuss and introduce to you. In probability theory and statistics, a probability distribution, it seems, is a mathematical function that, stated in simple terms, can be thought of as providing the probabilities of occurrence of different possible outcomes in an experiment. Now when the word experiment came in, that was again, so is it necessary that yes, you are confining yourself only to the domains of science and engineering? Then he said, no, the one that you're going to work out for yourself is also an experiment. Why do you go ahead and just confine and say that yes, experiments belongs to the domains of science and engineering and the other fields related to sciences? So that's how. Then he said the distribution distributions you can see in the form of like, the first thing that we all do in research is basically the normal distribution, and we just look at the bell curve. And trust me, sometimes I keep staring at the bell curve myself, and I keep wondering, as to how these things came in, and certain things are there which really I needed more and more answers or exposure to certain things. So that's how I went over, and then later on, dedicatedly for few, I should say, days, I was able to understand as to what distribution is all about, what probabilities are, and how the different kinds of distributions were emerging one after the other in the field of research and analysis also. So we have around normal distribution, students t distribution, Poisson distribution, uniform distribution, binomial distribution, t distribution, f distribution. Now I don't know, the list is a very very long one, and let's see how to carry forward. Now along with each and every distribution, I have even seen that there is always a graphical representation. Now that is the reason why immediately after completing the basics of the graphical and visual representations through Python, I wanted to jump into this. And we will see that each and every distribution that I'm going to introduce to you has a graphical representation, and it itself gives you a lot of stories. That's what I call it as visual stories, or the graphical visual stories. And definitely, yes, any business entity which is there, it is mandatory to look into it first, especially, and understand, observe, and come up with a, I should say, a rigorous solution, or I say redesigning of a product, or whatever you want to go ahead and do the research into that field. Now sometimes it is also said that distribution is the graph. However, we would say, it was corrected out to me saying that distribution is not just the graph, Ramani, it is a rule. Now, you see, if it is a rule, you are calibrating it, you're measuring it through certain rules that determines how values are positioned in relation to each other. Therefore, sometimes when students or the scholars and the faculties are thinking about them, that, okay, this is it. No, we need to understand the guidelines are there, certain rules are present, and we will have to understand in terms of the variables also. Very often we use a graph to visualize the data. Since different distributions have a particular graphical representation, the researchers, the analysts, or the statisticians, or even the other individuals, I would say, who are involved with the research kind of a thing, they should go ahead and plot them. And we will see, as I'm introducing to you, all of you, that yes, there are certain graphs, and they're very interesting, and definitely, yes, some of them we will find it out and see as to how to understand them and to proceed further and to analyze certain things. So that is how I would like to go ahead and share my observations regarding the distributions and the probabilities which are present to us. Now, in the same manner, I don't know where to start off, whether I should start off in the alphabetical manner for the different kind of distributions, or should I pick up randomly and discuss it. However, before going ahead with any specific kind of distribution and the probability theories, anyway, I'm going to focus exclusively right now on the distributions, and later on maybe on the probabilities. However, I have seen that yes, there are certain things which we need to know also. So I would be taking you through the Wikipedia pages also, so that one enters into those mathematical concepts which are available, so that we can understand as to how the background things are working for us when I get an answer with the help of a software or a programming language like Python or R. So that is how I'm going to begin with my introduction to distributions out here, and proceed further in order to know more about them. So you will be amazed to see the visualizations for each and every distribution that we have got, and hopefully I would be able to give you a list wherein we can know how to use each and every distribution, and how they are being calibrated, measured, and going forward taken care part of it. Now here you will see that yes, probability distribution is a mathematical function. This is the Wikipedia page which I really wanted, and you can see that yes, outcome of the coin tosses, which is usually the probability theories that we are talking about. It even talks about varieties of probability distributions in terms of discrete and continuous probability distribution. Now you see, that's the reason why we have a huge list of probability distributions for us. However, knowing them in a way becomes easier for us. Now here you see he has the Wikipedia page is and I thank Wikipedia for making such a wonderful page for us. A probability distribution which I'm going to read out, whose sample space is one dimensional. For example, real numbers, list of labels, ordered labels, or binary. Okay, these are called as the univariate kind of a thing. So you see, if you are entering into the programming and you are aware of it, so you understand what how the probability distributions are taking place for the univariate. While a distribution sample space is a vector space of dimension 2 or more, will be called as the multivariate. So you will see that again, I need to dwell more and find out that yes, whether there are differences between univariate, bivariate, and multivariate, or should we take up only univariate and multivariate itself, considering the fact that bivariate is a subset of multivariate itself. So we will look into these things also side by side. However, I will not be entering into too much of the theory aspect of these distributions that are there. My intention right now is to go ahead and find out what is the list of distributions, number one. Number two, what kind of variables they are. Then number three, what kind of graphical representation can I get it. And thirdly, I would like to understand what are the varying positional analysis that we can do for that particular distributive I should say variety that is existing in front of us. Now once we do it, then maybe I would be able to speak that yes, how we can understand these distributions when we are entering into the what do we call it as the research and the analysis part of it. So these are certain things, and one can definitely look into these pages also more and understand that yes, how the history of statisticians took up and this theory, distributive theories or the list of the distributions that were given to us tend out to be very important in terms of the research for us. However, I don't see many of the individuals again focusing on these things. We just go ahead and see whether my data is normal or not. We have to go for the normalization, whether those parameters or the assumptions are being taken care or not. As to why this is happening, in what way it has to be there, all those things also needs to be understood. However, side by side, I would say that yes, definitely these wiki pages or one or two books which I'll be referring to later on gives us the applications also about these distributions. So where we can apply, and naturally some of you who are seriously taking care of your research must be able to understand them also. Now there are certain terminologies which have been defined out here, and that is something which I really wanted to focus upon, like probability function. Then we have got probability mass function, which is PMF, frequency distribution, relative frequency distribution, discrete probability, then cumulative, categorical distribution. Now you see, when we are going ahead with the Python programming language and we are using these things for our own research and analysis, then it is necessary for us to know these things also side by side. Now that is one more I should say intention of mine, that yes, okay, let us go forward and know more about them. So functions, definitely PDF is something which I have seen is always present. Then continuous probability distribution function is also there. Then these basic terminologies, yes, we are taking care, like kurtosis, skewness, symmetry, standard deviation, variance, median, these are present. However, the other words also are important, and we will see that yes, Python programming helps us to use these words in the coding itself, and how these codings are being used for the further research and the analysis part of it. So certain things are there which we need to take it on hand, and others are there which are very easy ones to understand also. So here we go, and I'm not going to read each and every line of this wiki Wikipedia page. However, my intention is to introduce the distributions and other things also. So here we go, and I want some of you to read this one, so that before I introduce those terminologies or the varieties of it, we are able to know what they are and how they are being useful for us. So I think I'm going to stop here, and let me come up with the next one with more to go on probabilities. Till then, thanks and take care. Bye.